we will go into a deeper discussion how it is that Dafka, when the neshama comes down here to our body and dealing with this world, especially in our times, we have a big question: do we want to be in this world? Is it worth it? Look at this, the world, what's going on? And even though the light that shines in Gan Eden is called the Ziv HaShechina, the Neshamos are enjoying the radiance of the Shechina, of Elokus Mamash, but it's only a radiance. It's only a radiance from godliness. Through being in this world, a person can unite with God himself, not just his radiance, not just his light. In the eve of the 10th of Mar Cheshvan Tafshin Pei Daled, the Shir is Le'ilui Nishmas Maras Orna Bas Chaim Alea Shalom, also Le'ilui Nishmas, all those who were killed and murdered in the recent terror attacks, and also Lizchus, those who need refuah shlema, beguf, benefesh, whether they are the soldiers and the families, and also those who were kidnapped should come home, all of them b'shalom, and safely, immediately, B'ezras Hashem. And there should be the Geula Amitis V'Shlema. We are continuing the Maimar Maim Rabim, and we are, the Maimar, the way we're dividing it is to 8 sections. We did already 3. Today we will begin the 4th one. And I'll give a quick chazara. And the quick review is that the first chapter is talking about this divine love that is embedded in the heart of every Jew, which cannot be extinguished through the tirdos haparnasa. So basically what Perek Aleph is saying, and that this Maim Rabim of the Mabul spiritually represents, not only spiritually, but the war is about Parnasa, and we explain that we can, the Rebbe is not saying it exactly here, but we can extend this to Bechlal, our sustenance, our ability to sustain ourselves, to survive, and so on in this world. And they cannot, and dealing with this world, cannot put out this fire of this natural love that Bnei Israel feel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Today, Mirz Hashem, in the 5th chapter, we will see really why. Why we should be really concerned that dealing with this world would put out this love. And we really see the why today. Mirz Hashem. In any case, in the 1st chapter, we learn that since the essence, the nature of the neshama is elokus, is godliness, and before the neshama came down to be invested in the body, it was included in and one with godliness. Therefore, even after the neshama descends in the body and in this world, it still always maintains this condition of this permanent love that is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is called Shalheves Ka, Yud-Kei, the flame, the fire of Yud-Kei, the divine fire. And even though subjects of Parnasa and dealings, all the dealings with this world, could be very confusing or very overwhelming or very taxing or very distracting and very bothersome and so on and so forth, and to the extent that they could be even painful. Nevertheless, it's not possible for this love to the divine to be extinguished, even when the neshama is in this world. On the contrary, as the Rebbe will teach us, the tirdos haparnasa actually affect an elevation in the neshama, a great elevation in neshama that nothing but being in this world could accomplish. That was Perek Aleph. The second section, Perek Beis, talks about the reason why the waters of the Mabul are called Mei Noach, the waters of Noach. Noach means rest, tranquility. Naicha de Ruach, the tranquility of the spirit, peace. So from this chapter on, the Rebbe is explaining at length how, particularly through the battles of Parnasa, this Mayim Rabim of this world, the neshama can reach Avas Hashem, love of God, on the highest level, higher than the love that she possessed when it was in Gan Eden before it came down to her body. That's basically the topic of the second chapter. And these Mayim Rabim, Tirdos HaParnasa, the spiritual Mayim Rabim, and also the literal Mei HaMabul, the water of the Mabul, are called Mei Noach, like Menucha, rest, like Shabbos. It's also Shabbos Menucha, because the purpose of the Mabul wasn't just to punish the wicked people. For that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could destroy the world very quietly and quickly. Rather, the Mabul came to purify the whole land, the whole earth, the whole universe from this Zohama, from this spiritual filth that came about from the sins of those generations. And so to bring into the world Menucha, peace and rest, from the friction between the world and godliness. So this Mayim of the Mabul are really like the Mayim of the mikveh, the Mayim that purify, the waters that purify the human. And as it was done physically to the whole earth that was contaminated spiritually, deeply into the earth, and it needed the Mei HaMabul to also, and the waters from below came up to really metaher, to purify the earth itself, the physical earth that was so corrupted already from the sins. So too the Mayim Rabim are metaher, are purifying the person. That was basically Perek Beis. In the third chapter, the Rebbe is focusing more on this zichuch and the aliyah ruchnis, this purification and the spiritual elevation that a person goes through when he experiences the Mayim Rabim, all these aggravations and the worries about Parnasa and surviving this
you did last time.
I'm going to mute everyone. You can unmute yourself as you wish or as you need. So after it was explained that the Mei HaMabul they are called Mei Noach because they caused Naicha de Rucha. They caused the spiritual peace and rest from this war by being purifying the Mei HaMabul by the world being purified. Now the Rebbe will come back to explain how really the tirdos of the Parnasa elevate the person and bring him a spiritual ascent. That's basically the third chapter. And just as the Mei HaMabul purified the earth from its impurity, from its tumah, so too the Tirdos HaParnasa purify and elevate the person, refine and purify the person. And that's why we learn that Avraham Avinu chose Shi'bud Malkios rather than Gehenom. Because there's something special about Shibud Malchus, basically being subjected to different forces of this world, which brings a person even higher than Gehenna can bring him. Gehenna can purify the person that he can go back to the level of Gan Eden. But being purified by Olam, by Tirdos HaParnasa, by the Mea Mabul of this world, brings the person to a higher level than Gehenna can. Meaning higher than the Madrega of the Neshama before she came down to a body, to this world. So the Shirbud Malchus that Avraham Avinu chose, that means being subjected to all these worries and concerns about survival in this world. And basically the types, of the Baalei Esek, those who are dealing with business, with the world out there. But again, when we will go into a deeper discussion how it is that Dafka, when the Neshama comes down here to our body and dealing with this world, especially in our times, we have a big question: do we want to be in this world? Is it worth it? Look at the world, what's going on? But Dafka, there is an inyan of Yisor Na'or Haba Min HaChoshech. And even though the light that shines in Gan Eden is called the Ziv HaShechina, the Neshamos are enjoying the radiance of the Shechina, of Elokus Mamash, but it's only a radiance. It's only a radiance from godliness. Through being in this world, a person can unite with God himself, not just his radiance, not just his light. That basically was the third chapter, and now we'll go to the fourth. The fourth and the fifth chapters of this Maimar explain how it is that at first the Teva was threatened, the Ark of Noah was threatened to be drowned by the Maim Rabim, with the Maim of the Mabul. But then, Vataram HaTeva Me'al Pnei HaMaim. This ark was, the Pasuk says, it was uplifted from over the face of the water. So how is it that we can get to such intimacy with God himself, dealing with the Mei HaMabul of this world more than any spiritual world, more than Gan Eden HaTachton, more than Gan Eden HaElyon? And the Rebbe will explain it in two levels. The first will be the fourth chapter. The fourth chapter will explain that when a person is in the darkness, the yearning to the light is way more intense than a person who is all the time in the light. And that's the inyan of tshuva b'chlal, that the person is far from Hashem, then it creates such a thirst that Baalei Tshuva have over a yitaron, an advantage over tzaddikim who are all the time in the light. They never experience that thirst. That is how being in this world means how being in the darkness creates such a thirst to go out of the darkness. So it creates such a passion to come close to God. But really, is that Yisro Na'or Min HaChoshech? It's Yisro Na'or because of the Choshech. It's a greater light that is created because of the darkness. But really, the expression of King Solomon is Yisro Na'or Min HaChoshech. It comes from the darkness. And that will be explained in the fifth chapter. How really there's something about this, the shorosh of this world, including beginning with Nefesh HaBahamis versus the Nefesh HaElokis, the animalistic soul, the ego, versus the godly soul that has a higher shorosh. And so too, all kinds of the different levels of existence in this world, even the inanimate. has a higher shoresh inside the Ishtashlus than the soul itself, and therefore the soul has to be nurtured by Betzomeach and Domem and the Chai. We are, without them, without eating them, we can't exist. And really we'll find out that this is the real reason why we are elevated by this world, because the nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul, the ego, and this world have such a high spiritual service that went through the avodah of his kafia and his hapra, and guided by Torah and mitzvahs, we are revealing that shoresh. And when we are revealing that shoresh, now even the godly soul is benefiting with higher light that it had before. That's basically will be these two pakim. So I think we should look inside, unless anyone wants to ask or say anything. So we are on the first page of the Maimar, page 16 in Torah Ohr, or the way it is defined, page Ches, Amud Gimel. Amud Daled. So it's page 16, the bottom left paragraph, the left paragraph, the bottom two lines. After Vishapcha Chashucha Chulu. So now the Rebbe is talking in this fourth section about this great love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is awakened in this world Dafka, or is awakened in the neshama Dafka in this world. And this is the work itself that comes from Choshech. Then the work that the neshama is doing in a condition of darkness brings it higher than the work that the neshama does in a condition of light. So the love to Hashem, as we said before, that the person awakens in his heart, when he is finding himself in the darkness of this world, in a matzav that he has yegios and tirdos aparnasa, all the worries and all the bothers, and now it's even more than that. We know what we are going through. So that love that is born out of this condition is greater than the love of the nefesh to Hashem Yisbarach when he is not in the matzav of choshech. And it can be to the extent of the condition of cholas ahava, as it's called, that the person is sick, spiritually feels sick from this yearning to be closer to Hashem, because he feels so far that this world is pulling him so far away from God that he is inflamed with his thirst to come close and to come back to Hashem. And this is represented by tirdos aparnasa, when a person has to worry about sustaining, about making sure that every month there is enough food on the table, and the children can pay for the yeshivas, and this and barely making it every month, and this and that, and that. But you can really extend it to everything: buyos haguf, buyos hanefesh, any sustenance that you need in this world, in order to survive. So when a person is taken over by all this, there is a great thirst to get out of this darkness and to cleave to Hashem with a great love. And when a person is awakened with such thirst to exit that darkness and to reach the light, this is the highest level of love. That means that he wouldn't only suffice with not being confused by this world, but he would not want anything else but God himself. Not even his giluim, his wonderful revelations in the different levels of Gan Eden. So let's look inside. שכשעוסק כל היום בעניינים גשמיים בטרדס הפרנסה, שהם הנקראים חושך. So the first reason why dealing with this parnasa is creating this greater love. when a person is engaged all day in physical activities, in tirdas haparnasa, in the battles of parnasa, which are called choshech, ומתבונן אחר כך בתפילה, איך שאין לך עשב מלמטה, שאין לו מזל מלמעלה חולו. So all day long he was busy just, providing, surviving, doing business, just trying to make it in this world. And then he comes to stand up and daven. And when and after being pulled all directions, mentally, physically, whatever it is, all day long, dealing with this world, now he stands to daven. And when he stands to pray, he's reflecting on the fact that you don't have one blade of grass that doesn't have a spiritual root, a spiritual source from above. These are the mazalos. שהם המזלות, שהם המשפיעים חיוס כל עולם הזה. Person is reflecting on really what's happening in this world. How does this world exist? What is the life force in this world? So in tefillah, a person is reflecting on the fact that nothing grows from below without its spiritual source sustaining it, which are called the mazalos. The mazalos are the different constellations. שהם המשפיעים חיוס כל עולם הזה. There are different constellations, celestial constellations, that are channels that Hashem has, that through them they give chayus to this entire world. וכמו שכתוב, וממגד תבואוס, in דברים it says, וממגד תבואוס שמש, וממגד גרש חולו ירחים. That there are tevuos, that are grains that are growing from the sun, and there are other plants that are growing from the moon, like nightshades and so on. So when a person who is all day long is busy with his gashmius inyanim, he's now standing up to daven and to cleave to God, and he starts to reflect, what am I busy with all day long? It's all about chaye olam hazeh. But I'm dealing with this world, where does this world get its chayos from? From the mazalos, from the constellations. As we know that every davar gashmi has its mazal, has its spiritual source, that is mashpia to it, its life force. Which means the chayus that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashpia to the created beings in this world is coming down through these mazalos. For instance, the divine power to bring forth and to matzmiach, peros, let's say fruits, is coming down through the sun and the moon. ממגד תבואות שמש וממגד גרש ירחים. So we know that the Chayos Eloki, that the divine life force that creates and sustains all the created beings, descends and devolves from Hashem from level to level. On every level the Chayos decreases until it comes down here to the physical beings. And this is what Chazal said, that the chayos of even a blade of grass, and so too the chayos of all the Nivraim down here, flows to this world through the mazalos, through these constellations. The mazal is the lowest spiritual level, stage of the yerida, of the descent of the divine chayos into the world. And from the mazalos, the energy comes into the physical beings. So the mazalos is the lowest spiritual source. However, the chayos in the mazalos is also coming from a higher chayos than that. And the Rebbe is now specifying the different levels and stages in the yerida of the devolvement of the chayos from level to level until it reaches the mazalos, and from the mazalos to this physical world. Look inside. והמזלות הם מקבלים מעין שרים. So the physical world receives its chayus from the mazalos, from the constellations, and the mazalos receive their chayus from the 70 ministers, meaning that there are 70 nations, and every nation has a spiritual minister, a spiritual officer that is in charge of that nation. And these sarim, these 70 sarim, mekablim mishimre ofanim. They are receiving, the sarim of the 70 nations, receiving their chayus from the dross, from the waste of the ofanim. The ofanim are the lowest angels. These are angels of the world of Asiya. They are called ofanim. Ofanim means the wheel. And where do the sarim receive their chayus? From shimre ofanim, from the waste of the ofanim. That which the ofanim could not at all use to create light. It's like when we eat food, so the lower the aspect of the food goes to nourish the lower aspects of the body, or let's start the other way around. The higher, more refined part of the food that we eat nourishes the higher parts of the body, like the heart and the brain, so on. And the lower aspect of the food nourishes the less sensitive and the less essential organs of the body, or the more external limbs of the body. And then comes the waste, which means that nothing from that part of the food that couldn't be utilized by any aspect of the body. So the 70 sarim are nurtured from the waste of the ofanim, of the lowest angels. Vehem, the ofanim, the lowest angels of the world of Asiya, Haruchnis, the spiritual Asiya. We are in the physical Asiya. These ofanim, vehem mekablim me'amalachim. Malachim are usually the angels of Yetzirah, of the world of Yetzirah. They are higher. Yetzirah is the home of the Malachim. And in Malachim, there are many, many kinds and levels of Malachim. וגבוה מעל גבוה, as it says in Koheles, Shlomo Melech. גבוה מעל גבוה, higher and higher. There are many levels of Malachim. And then you have the angels of Bria, that the Rebbe is not saying here, I think, which is the Srafim and so on. So in other words, the Chayos Eloki that is invested in the Mazalos is drawn and divorced from the highest levels. But it all gradual. It begins from the Ein Sarim, the 70 officers, and then we have the Ofanim, the waste of the Ofanim, and then we have the Malachim. And in the Malachim, as we said, there are many levels as well. So what does the person realize? He realizes that this whole olam hazeh that he gets so distracted by and so overwhelmed by and so impressed by and so taken over by and so on and so forth, what is it after all? It just is created from the waste of the lowest spiritual source, the malachim, the ofanim. It's like the waste is the lowest. And eventually, but the person is making the yichud. He said, we are down here. What am I so distracted by this world? Look from where it's coming. It's coming from the mazalos that are getting from the sarim, that are getting from the ofanim, that are getting from the malachim. Ad shikulam, going higher and higher and higher. It all really, I shouldn't forget from where it's all coming. It all comes. עד שכולם מקבלים מבחינת מלכוסו יתברך. To the highest level which all the created beings receive from the Malchus of Hashem, מלכוס ובצילוס, וכמו שכתוב in תהילים, קמ"ה, מלכוסך, מלכוס כל עולמים. As it says in Tehillim, that your Malchus is the Malchus of all worlds, שמהווה את כל העולמות מאין ליש ממש. Or you can say מהווה. This Malchus creates all these worlds מאין ליש ממש. So all these madregos, the mazalos, the sarim, the shrimbri ofanim, the ofanim, the malachim, they are only memutzaim, they are only stages, they are only intermediaries that through which the shefa of the divine life goes through. And the shoresh of all this is in Sfiras HaMalchus, which is the power of Hashem to create and to sustain the created worlds. And this divine chayus from the Malchus of Hashem comes down to our world to create the world, all worlds, including our world and the physical beings. And what is this Malchus? So also when a person davens, he's also mizboh and also reflecting on the fact that this Malchus, which is the shorish of all the worlds, all the way down to our world, the Asiya Gashmis, this Malchus that creates and sustains all the created worlds, והוא רק בחינת זיו השכינה בלבד, שאינו אלא בחינת זיו וערה בעלמא בלבד, לגבי מהוסו ועצמוסו יתברך כביכול. The Rebbe is saying here that this Malchus is called Ziv HaShechina. Malchus is the Shechina itself. But what the Rebbe is saying here, that relative to God himself, his Malchus is just a radiance. It's just a ray. So Malchus, the energy of Malchus, is the energy of Hashem that is limited. Malchus limits the divine force, the divine energy, limits it and allocates it to the created worlds, Oros Bekelim, each world according to its level, as we just realized, from level to level to level. But when you talk about God himself, not his Malchus, and how it comes down to Biyah, but when you talk about godliness itself, שהוא בבחינת אין סוף ממש. God himself is Ein Sof. Malchus is limited energy. God himself is Ein Sof Mamash, is infinite. So again, Midas HaMalchus, which is the Chayos Elokis, the divine life force that is invested in the creations, is in a manner of Gvul, is finite and limited. We are all finite beings. And also Midas HaMalchus, the way it sustains our worlds, is also subjected to the category of time and space. Malchus actually creates time. But Mahuso Vatzmuso, as the Rebbe calls it, or God himself, is above time. Haya, Hove, V'yeh. That, what does it mean, Ein Sof? Is also regarding time. Haya, Hove, V'yeh, that's Yud Kei Vav Kei, Haya, Hove, V'yeh, was, is, and will be, Bli Shinui Mamash, without any change. Hashem is not subjected to time. Because we're talking about Ein Sof, you're talking about infinite, he's not defined at all through the changes of time. And about this it says, Ani Havai Lo Shanisi. I Havai, Malachi says, don't change. Not before, after creation, I'm just as I am before and I was before creation. Uchemamar, as we say in Tfilas HaShachar in the morning, davening, Ata hu kodem shenivra, v'ata hu le'achar shenivra. You are just the same. The way you were before the world was created, now after it was created, you are just the same as you were before. Different from than our reality. In our reality, when a person is engaged in making something, he is changing. He's not the same before, the way he was before he started to make it, and while he's doing it, and then when he finishes doing it, he's going through changes. But by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the workings of creation of the world does not affect any change in him, because it comes from his Malchus. It comes just as a ray of the sun, the light of the sun, the rays of the sun, the radiance of the sun, doesn't make any change in the sun itself, whether it reaches the earth or it doesn't reach the earth, whether it was blocked by a cloud or not blocked by a cloud, wouldn't make any difference in the sun itself. It's not the sun itself that comes down it here. It's only its ziv, only its light, only its radiance. And it doesn't take away anything. It doesn't create a change in the sun at all. So just as the ray of the sun doesn't create a change on the sun itself or in the sun itself, so too creating the worlds does not create any change in Hashem himself. So to summarize so far, when a person is engaged all day long in his business, in Chayei Olam Hazeh, in the life of this world, he is going from thing to thing, and it includes the Akeres Habayis, the woman at the home, or everything, all the activities that we do in order to sustain our life in this world. And then he stands to daven. And at the time of davening, he is reflecting on the nature of the life in this world, with which he's so busy with, and the source of his chayus. He comes to the conclusion that the entire world, including the divine Shefa that creates and animates the world, is not but a ziv and a ara, just a ray, just a radiance for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's completely insignificant comparing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. ואחרי הסבוננוס כל הנ"ל בעומק הדעת, תתעורר נפשו בבחינת אהבה ותשוקה נפלאה כרשפי אש, לצייס מתוך החושך והלם הגשמי הזה, ורק לדבקה בו יתברך. So when a person really is present in his davening, and he is reflecting about all this בעומק הדעת, which he deepens his mind into this, and that causes that his nefesh will now be awakened with this wondrous love and yearning, tshuka, like flames of fire, to come out of this choshech of this world that always distracts me and takes me away from Hashem, takes me away from myself, from my essence, and to go out of the darkness of the Ola Helem Agashmi Hazeh, v'rak ledovka bo yitbarach, and only to cleave to Hashem. I wish I would just in your courtyard, just in your temple. That's all I want. So it awakens a yearning to go out of the concealment of all the clippers of this world, and to elevate oneself to the source of all life, at least to connect with the fact that we are all coming from this Malchus, which only a radiance from God himself. So now we have a burning thirst to cleave to God himself. וכמו שכתוב in Tehillim, chapter 73, מי לי בשמיים ועמך לא חפצתי חולו בארץ. Who is for me? Why would I'm not interested in the Shamayim, and anything that is imcha, is with you, but not you. Lo chafatzti, I'm not desiring, which means ba'aretz, which means 2 levels of Gan Eden. I don't desire you Gan Eden atachton the aretz in the spiritual. I don't desire you Gan Eden ha'elyon, the higher Gan Eden, which is the Shamayim, the spiritual heavens. שלא יחפוץ כלל לא בגן עדן התחתון ולא בגן עדן העליון. Why? because these two are only a gilui of the ziv of the radiance of God. It's the ziv of Shekhinah that is revealed in Gan Eden. And when a person feels that thirst that comes out of this distance, being in the darkness of this world, he doesn't want any revelations from God. He wants God himself. Shehem, these two levels of Gan Eden, Shamayim and Aretz, that lo chafazti, that don't desire, what are they? Shehem rak b'chinas ziv ve'ha'ara bilvad. Even though the Gan Eden is a place of tremendous pleasure, because the neshama is enjoying, really experiencing the radiance, the divine light, nevertheless, it's only ziv ve'ha'ara. It's not the sun itself, it's just its rays. וכמאמר רז"ל, צדיקים יושבים וכולו ונהנים מזיו השכינה. As רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה describe the tzaddikim, that they are sitting in Gan Eden and they are enjoying the radiance of the Shekhinah. By the way, the term ziv in Kabbalah and Hasidus means light that can be perceived and internalized. Because the light has its essence, and also has its self, has its source, is where its essence is where it's connected with the luminary, has its itself, the light itself, and then it has the aspect that is revealed to the recipients, to a keli. That is called ziv, the external aspect of light. In any case, the Gilui Elokus that shines in Gan Eden is only ziv and hara, from Hashem himself, and the person rather ki'im ledovka boisbach. The person doesn't want anything which is secondary to Hashem, rather he wants Hashem himself. Likalel bivchinas mahuso v'atzmuso izbarach. To be included in the mahus and atzmus of Hashem himself. ונקרא בזוהר הקדוש להשתווה בגופה דמלכה. In the Holy Zohar it's called to be sucked in, to be vacuumed, to be drawn into the body of the king himself, to be subsumed in the king himself. להשתווה בגופה דמלכה. So this tremendous Ava and Shuka that is born in the Nefesh, to cleave to Hashem himself, nothing but himself, is called in the Zohar Lishtava Begufa de Malka. Venikres, and this is called B'chinas Avazu, B'chinas Tshuva. This type of love is called Tshuva. Shehu B'cheila Yasir, which is Tshuva, is with extra strength, extra intensity. שבאה דווקא מתוך החושך, שהיה עוסק רק בעניינים גשמיים והבלי העולם, לפי שיתרון האור הוא מתוך החושך דווקא. So this kind of extra energy comes from the חושך דווקא, from darkness, because he was engaged all day long in עניינים גשמיים and the vanities of this world. So, why? יתרון האור מתוך החושך. This great ava and this great intense love to cleave to Hashem himself is awakened in the person dafka through his boinenness in the great distance that he finds himself far away from godliness, and he wants to go out of this darkness, and this is the inyan, the tochel pnimi of inyan of tshuva. And this is what Chazal say, that במקום שבעלי תשובה עומדים, צדיקים גמורים אינם יכולים לעמוד, או אינם עומדים. That in a place that בעלי תשובה stand, complete tzaddikim do not. And that is because the בעלי תשובה experience extra thirst, because they find themselves far away in a desert, desolated place. The Sitra Achra, far from godliness. And therefore the Ava that is born in their heart is Bechela Yasir, as the Zohar called it, with extra strength and intensity, and that is because of the Mitoch HaChoshech. And this avoida is called Tshuva. this choshech, this darkness, this being far away, that gives birth to tremendous longing for Elokus. And this is the explanation, what the Chazal say in Pirkei Avos, יפה שעה אחת בתשובה ומעשים טובים בעולם הזה, מכל חיי עולם הבא. That the love of the neshama to Hashem in a state of tshuva in this world is in a higher level and the higher thirst and higher intensity and energy than its love to Hashem when the soul was lemaila above in Gan Eden. ונקרס אהבה זו בכל מאודיך. This love is called the aspect, the level of the principle of בכל מאודיך, with all your meod, which means with your infinity. Relatively, every person has his meod, has his infinite, which means infinity, which means beyond his kelim, his norm. שהוא כלי בלי גבול ממש. This Ava is really beyond the kelim of a person. It is an unlimited love שבא דווקא מן ההיפוך שהוא החושך. That comes דווקא from the opposite, which is the darkness. So through this darkness and the yearning to Elokus that it creates, a person comes to experience Ava Bilti Mugbeles, an unlimited love that is awakened from this darkness. וכמו שכתוב, as it says in Bereshit, the Medrash says, טוב זה מלאך החיים, טוב מאוד זה מלאך המוות. The Medrash says, when it says, וירא השם כי טוב, every day of creation, that means Malach HaChaim. Kitov means that it was good. Hashem saw that it was good. This Malach HaChaim, the angel of life. And when it says, Hashem saw that it was on Friday, it was Tov Me'od. What is Tov Me'od, say Chazal, the Medrash? Ze Malach HaMaves. Very good is Malach HaMaves, the angel of death. What does it mean? Now we can understand that this Choshech, that is represented by Malach HaMaves, is Tov Me'od. Why? Because it brings the person higher than the Malach HaChaim. שעל ידי ההיפוך והחושך דווקא, שהוא בחינת נפש הבהמיס, יכולים לבוא לבחינת אהבת בכל מאודיך, שהוא בלי גבול ממש. The explanation is that דווקא through transforming the darkness, which is the state that we find ourselves in, which means our regular personality and sense of self is the self of Nefesh HaBahamis, is our ego. יכולים לבוא, דווקא through dealing with our ego and our Nefesh HaBahamis in this world, in this body, we can come to the bchina of Ava b'chol מאודיך. Ava in a manner of בלי גבול, שהוא בלי גבול ממש. So Malach HaMaves that we're talking about, the angel of death we're talking about here, is the Nefesh HaBahamis in a person, which is Yetzer Hara, which is called Malach HaMaves. And about this, Chazal say that Hashem said about this, it is Tov Me'od. That even though it's Hepech HaTov and Hepech HaOr, nevertheless through it, we can come to Ava in a manner of B'chol Me'odecha. That we cannot reach having only Yetzer Tov. Because Yetzer Tov give birth to Ava, which is limited. But when darkness is transformed to light, then it's mamash bli gvul, unlimited, and that is only through dealing with Malach HaMaves. So to summarize, this is the end of chapter 4 of this Maimar. To summarize this fourth section of the Maimar, when a person is reflecting on the fact that the source of all the Gashmius life here is Mimidas HaMalchus of Hashem, which Malchus of Hashem, comparing to Hashem himself, is like a ziv, like a ray, like radiance, only a light from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But and it's limited, the energy that comes from Malchus to the world. Unlike Hashem himself, who is Ein Sof. When a person reflects on that, he is awakened with unlimited love and a wish to really relate to and to come close to and to be eventually to merge with and to unite with only with Hashem himself. And he doesn't want just the Ziva Shechina. Not even in Gan Eden, not the lower, not the higher. And this great love that comes dafka from the Choshech, that's the Maila of Tshuva. Tshuva is experience of an energy which is very intense, very strong. And this is Bechela Yasi with extra strength, as the Zohar calls it. And this is Ava Bechol Meodecha. Meod means bli gvul. And about that it says in the Medrash, Tov Meod ze Malach HaMaves. Because dafka through the Choshech of Nefesh HaBahamis, we come to Ava Bechol Meodecha. Yisro Naor min HaChoshech dafka. So in this chapter, we just realize how only with through being in the darkness and dealing with the darkness of this world, we can experience such love and yearning to God himself, because we want to exit the darkness. And this tremendous, strong, intense passion is not experienced by a person who feels all the time comfortably close to godliness, because he doesn't experience that choshech. So far we see how dealing with choshech causes and is a cause to wanting to get out of the choshech and to come close to Elokus. And that creates a tremendous love. But now in the 5th chapter, the Rebbe will explain what we said before even further than that. That it's not only that because a person wants to run away from the choshech, that he feels tremendous love and a wish to come close to Hashem, because he wants to run away from the choshech. That is chapter 4. Chapter 5 says, because you have to look at the Maila of the choshech itself. The choshech means Nefesh HaBahamis and all the different levels of existence of this world, of this physical world. The shoresh, when we contemplate and we understand the shoresh of Nefesh HaBahamis, we see that it has a high shoresh. And when we reveal this shoresh, and that is the real reason why we now experience Ava and intimacy with Hashem that we couldn't even never experience or could never experience when a neshama is before coming down to a body in this physical world. Give me another few minutes and we'll end. V'hainu, why is it that the Nefesh HaBahamis causes the neshama to be expressed now with this infinite love? V'hainu, so now we will learn about the Maila and the Shoresh, the root, the spiritual root of the Nefesh HaBahamis, of the animalistic, of the ego, the animalistic soul, and its advantage over the Shoresh, the root of the godly soul. And that will be a deeper reason to understand why there is a Hava Amina, why there is a thought that the Mayim Rabim could put out that love. We said in the beginning of the Maimar, the Rebbe saying that Mayim Rabim cannot put out that love. Why would we think that they could? In this perek we will realize why. Because we realize how high is the shoresh of this Mayim Rabim. And because the shoresh of the Mayim Rabim is so high, that's why there is a real danger, a real sakana, that it will drown the Nefesh HaElokis and take away, sweep away the person completely, to detach himself from godliness. It would put out, extinguish that love. It makes sense, because the shoresh of the Nefesh HaBahamis, as the Rebbe is explaining now, is higher even than the shoresh of the Nefesh HaElokis. By the way, the context of saying that the shoresh, that the source of the animalistic soul is higher than the source of the godly soul is only within Seder Ishtalshelus. Really, absolutely, the godly soul is higher. The shoresh of godly soul is higher. But that's only before the Tzimtzum. That's above Seder Ishtalshelus. In Seder Ishtalshelus, the way it came down, yes, we had Shviras HaKelim, as we learned, and we learned before, and we learn again now. And because of that, this Nefesh HaBahamis fell from its original high shoresh, high root, and fell down to be now a Nefesh of Klippa. But the shoresh is very high, higher than Nefesh HaElokis. But that's all in Seder Ishtalshelus. I think we should stop here, because now we are starting the next point. Now we have, really, I think the Perek Hamishi in some ways is like the peak of the Maimar in understanding the principle of why Avraham Avinu chose all the Isurim of this world, of Parnasa in this world, and the struggle of the Nefesh HaElokis in the Nefesh HaBahamis and in the Guf and in this world, and Parnasa and sustenance and so on and survival, because of, in this Perek, the Perek Hamishi will explain really the spiritual reason for it. And what else? And then the Prakim after will also talk more about the davening of a Baal Esek, or people who are involved in the world that think that they are so inferior to people who sit all day in 770 and learn. And the Rebbe says this is not the case necessarily. So the Maila of dealing with this world and how we can be elevated through the tefillah that is done through dealing with this world, which is the Tevas Noach. We'll learn about the Tevas Noach. Teva means a word, Rasha Tevos, the head of the beginning of words. So Tevas Noach represents the Tevos of tefillah and the Tevos of our consciousness, the words, the conversations, the consciousness we have inside. And we will learn how that it can be done through tefillah of every day, and then especially Shabbos. Every day's tefillah is like the Shabbos of that day. And then in the week comes the Shabbos. Saturday is the Shabbos of the week. But every day, the tefillah of that day, that connects that day with Elokus, that elevates all the experience of that day, that's like the Naicha, the Noach, the Shabbos, the Menucha of that day. So the Rebbe will talk more about tefillah, and tefillah that when we are dealing with the world, what kind of mentality we should have, consciousness we should have, and how it elevates our being, and also about learning Torah and mitzvahs. That's already the outcome, but the principle of the Maila of dealing with this world, that really understanding that helps us, or could help us, to maybe more easily to embrace the challenges of this world, not as victims, but as maybe surfers, or people who know that the big Mayim Rabim, these big waves of this world, have a purpose to them. And the purpose will be fulfilled, and that is to elevate us to such close relationship with Hashem that nothing else could. And hopefully that will give us the koyach, the spiritual koyach, to successfully deal with all the challenges that we are dealing with. And we should hear good news from the entire Jewish nation and the entire world, and all the kochos of evil should be completely eradicated, and it should be done b'chesed u'berachamim and immediately, and it should be the complete geula tekef biyad mamash now.